All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the e-NABLE Town Hall for April 1st, 2016. I'm Justine Diamond, your host for this week's meeting. No April Fool's jokes today, I don't think, but Town Hall is a weekly meeting that's held as a Google Hangout on air. At Town Hall, team leads, community members, and foundation staff are able to update the community on what's been happening during the week and on what's coming up and on projects they're working on. We encourage you to ask questions of any of our speakers. The easiest way to do that is through the Q&A feature that's inherent to Hangouts. You'll find the Q&A at the upper right-hand corner of your screen if you click on the little grid of 9 boxes. If you're watching on some devices, such as a tablet or an iPad, and on some phones, you'll find that you can't access the Q&A easily. In that case, you can post your question on the event page for this Hangout, and we will try to answer that either during the call or later on as a comment. Town Hall, of course, as I always say, is about our community. I tend to read through the community and attend different Hangouts, such as the R&D Hangout or the Chapter Hangouts, to find out what people are doing, what's going on, and see what's of interest that I think should be reported on. Sometimes, of course, I read a newspaper article or a Facebook post. That's how I found quite a bit of education people who have come here. By and large, though, the best source for any information comes from the community itself. So if there's something you'd like to share with the community at an upcoming town hall, or if there's something you think we should spotlight, please let me know. You can email me at events.enable@gmail.com. As always, you'll find the calendar on the Foundation website under About. The calendar lists public events, chapter activities, presentations, and virtual events like the different Hangouts that are held in the community. If you submit your event to me, I'll make sure that somebody gets it listed on the calendar. And if anyone is interested in helping maintain some of our public event calendars, if they could drop me a line, that would be great. I'd love a volunteer to help out. If you're interested in representing the e-NABLE community at an event or at a maker fair and would like some assistance in getting that organized, that's another reason to get in touch. One thing we have been working on is some additional event support material. I'm about to make all of that available, but I can give you a very brief glimpse. I've previously shown a facilitator's guide, which we've reworked to make it a little less unwieldy than it had been initially. And I can, if I do this correctly, screen share. I'll get to what this is about in just a second, just to give you an idea of some of what we've got. The material that looks a little like this. This is a fundraiser that's currently going on through Twitch TV and Toy Soldiers Unite, which is an online, I don't quite understand how it works, but it's online gaming where people do collaborative online gaming and do videos and watch each other play. And for 3 days, they're running a marathon to try to raise money. We are the recipient of their funds for this, and they are hoping to raise at least $2,000 for us, and they're actually hoping that it will be more than that. So that's kind of exciting. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Because we have quite a lot of people here, I'm going to pass this over to Joe Fairley, who has been doing a lot of work with college chapters, and he's got a couple of people in from chapters, and then we're going to be going over to, after Joe and those chapters go, we'll be going to another college that's got stuff going on, which is Daniel Dugan, but we're going to start off with Joe.
Thanks, Justine. So I'm happy to announce that we now have an official chapters application process that's available online. I'm about to bring that up for you so we can see that pretty well here. And if we take a look on the ECF website, if you go to Get Involved, down to Partners, and then that brings you up to their normal partners page, and on the right-hand side we have the chapters tab for you. Okay, so this is giving you a broad introduction into what a chapter is, how to form your chapter, specifically exactly what makes up a chapter, giving people a template for their initial structure. This is also an application process, so down towards the bottom, you're going to see the mission statement that has been made up by me for Merrimack College. This would be altered to your specific chapter. You can either use this as a template for you or come up with your own mission statement. The parts of the chapter application are down towards the bottom here. There is a declaration, institution agreement, the chapter mission statement, like I said, and then just a general introduction. So the mission statement is going to be emailed to chapters@enablecommunityfoundation.org, as well as the introduction. And the other two declaration and institution agreements are forms to be filled out online. So that again is going straight to the chapters@enablecommunityfoundation.org. And once that goes through, we've got a little bit of work to do behind the scenes as far as trying to officiate the chapters. So bear with us for the next couple weeks in getting that set up for you. But in the meantime, please give that a look over and make sure that if you're looking to build a chapter and have one officially through the UCF, then go through these steps and you'll be able to be available for that process. So today we've got a few people here that I'd like to highlight. First off, we've got Peter Larsen from UMass Lowell. He's going to be talking about a few cool things that are coming up here in the next couple of weeks, as well as where his chapter's at the moment. So Peter, you want to start us off?
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so hello, my name is Peter. In the past year, I've helped to form UMass Lowell's chapter of e-NABLE. We've worked with our first recipient, Ethan. We were able to deliver a hand on Christmas Eve, as well as sending about 5 hands out to another community project that are just generally sent out. So we have about 20 active members. We're working within the institutional parameters. We have a partner with the university's makerspace. So our members volunteer time as makerspace monitors, essentially hall monitors in the space, in exchange for free use of the printers, free use of the tools, as well as support in terms of material costs. So we have a few major events coming up. Actually, just this evening, we are pitching in the university's, it's called the Difference Maker Competition. It's essentially venture capital funded by the university. So us and about 30 other teams have made it to the semifinals, in which we will give a 5-minute rocket pitch, hopefully to win anywhere between $1,000 and $5,000 to help fund our program. This would also help us establish relationships with the university as well as other faculty and staff, really trying to pull on the resources that are available to us. So that's happening tonight. And then in 10 days, so April 10th is going to be our probably largest event of the year. We're hosting the first Northeast Regional Meetup here at UMass Lowell. So this is open to any person who is curious about e-NABLE, who hasn't started yet, or new chapters that are forming, established chapters, individual volunteers. It really hopefully will be an opportunity for us all to spend some time together, to network, to problem solve, to swap tips, and share stories. We really want to try and build a hub, particularly in this region, that can help better serve a larger number of recipients. I think by building relationships with each other and strengthening our chapters, we can better serve more people, which is the whole point. So we have a few guest speakers coming in. We have some vendors that are going to come and do demos and bring printers. We're hoping to have, in one corner, like, here's how you assemble a hand, here's how you work with a printer, here's how, different stations all across. We have some leadership from e-NABLE coming, which I'm very grateful for. And so it's looking to be a great event. So there is a Google Plus event page, which I will put in the chat. You do not need to RSVP, but it would help us prepare in terms of procuring the right amount of food and everything else. But we're doing check-in at noon on North Campus at University of Massachusetts Lowell, and all further questions, you can send them to me. Joe has also been very influential in getting this off the ground, so you can also reach out to him. And we're really looking forward to it. I hope to see as many of you there as possible. But in the future, we're working to build new versions of our hand for Ethan, to work with more recipients, and really hit the ground hard next year in terms of recruiting new members. That's what I have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. So now we've got Kristen from Penn State DigiDigits, and she's going to give us an update on where she's at. She's had a little bit of a kind of different aspect in the chapters realm so far. So she's going to share maybe some of the woes she's seen from that side of it. So go for it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Joe. This is Allie that I have with me. She's one of our e-NABLE and family kind of relations members in the club. So yeah, we've had a little bit of a different experience in the past year since we formed as a club. A lot of you guys know that so last December we ran into, well, we were approached by the university risk officials with some concerns about the logistics about building a quote-unquote prosthetic. And some of that is just the way that e-NABLE's, devices are classified. Some of that was just the university being very concerned about the risks, which is very understandable. So we've spent a lot of time this semester focusing on finishing our recipient child, Colin, his hand, where we ran into a lot of problems with the finger caps, as he has some very unique and individual. He only has the first phalange, so we've been spending a lot of time trying to get that just right. It's proven to be a little more difficult than we originally expected, but we are really close to getting that done, so we should have that done by the end of the school year, which we're excited about. On the more legal side, once after meeting with the lawyers, and we have some, we are actually corresponding with a lawyer that's kind of more on our side to help us out, but we've been able to take a couple. We've been able to take a couple steps that have really helped us out. One of them was we were able to partner with a medical company that is FDA GMP compliant, which was a big problem for the university with us being a club. So we were able to partner with them. We have an agreement worked out where they'll be able to print the final product under GMP compliance, which should take care of any manufacturing issues that we have on our end. The other thing that two other things that we've started to do is go through an FDA pre-submission process where we're submitting the process of how we're designing our own, but also using e-NABLE's designs, printing them, testing them, just certain qualities, even just percent infills. So we're going through that pre-submission process to get that approved by the FDA. That's one of the other measures that we think will really help us out that was recommended to us through that medical company. So we're still going through that. It's a little bit of a longer process, so we hope to have that finished up by the end of this summer. We're also going through the university to get IRB approval, which is Institutional Review Board. I'm sure all colleges have that to some extent, where it's kind of a training course, and then we have to be approved by the review board to do our project. That is more because we're working with people like our recipient, Colin. So going through all those steps, we think that we should be okay as a club to kind of continue, even though we did have that original issue. So that's something that, I know I think we were the first school to kind of experience any kind of resistance from the university, despite all the support we had from the news, even the president of the university. But it's something that, we'd be willing to offer any help that any other school kind of runs into, because I can't expect that we're going to be the only school that's going to run through it in all of especially as this is growing. I know Penn State is a little bit more conservative in their risk and analysis and all of that, but that's not to say that it definitely won't show up in the future. But we're in a pretty good place right now. I'm happy with where we are, especially in relation to the risk management officers that we first spoke to in December. So we think that the legal actions that we were able to take with that, with the FDA and the IRB approval, should be exactly what we need.
Awesome, thanks, Kristen. Remind me to reach out to you to maybe get some of that information down in writing, just so we can have some resources maybe for the chapters online somewhere.
Absolutely.
So our last person here unfortunately couldn't make it today, but she'll probably be coming along in the next couple of weeks, is Ashley Whiting. She will be the chapter coordinator for Merrimack when I leave next year. And she's going to be spearheading, continuing on the chapter at Merrimack College. Currently, we're still working with our recipient from St. Louis, as well as an adult recipient down in New Orleans, to try to, get some feedback on the design devices. That's really my take out of this year, going through my time at Merrimack, is the actual feedback system that we get from recipients is something that I'd like to build on. So trying to create sort of a clinical follow-up process just to have some surveys put out and get some strict data on are these devices doing what we think they're doing, and how can we improve them. So that's what we're working on at Merrimack. So I'd like to pass it over to everyone else at this time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Just point out, Joe, that with feedback and surveys, to make sure on any of that you loop in Melina, because that would be a good idea. Chuck Antalis, who is actually our note taker, or at least is for today. We'll need a new note taker because his commitments won't allow him to continue to help us in this way. He makes a very valid point that perhaps Kristen can add information to the chapters page as they get it developed. And I think that the experience they're having, Chuck, that's a great idea, and I think we'll be building that out. So thank you for the suggestion, and of course thank you for taking notes. Keeping with post-secondary work, I'm going to pass this over to Daniel Dugan, who in Michigan is doing quite a number of things. Actually, he sent me a number of events that he has going on. April is especially busy for him. If you take a look at the calendar, you'll see those events, which include some assembly events and some lectures. He's been doing work with students in a number of different areas, but the area I believe they're going to be talking about today is some improvements and adaptations to the Raptor Reloaded hand. So I'm going to pass this over to Daniel, and thank you for joining us. And hello to your students, too.
Hello! Happy April Fool's Day. So we have been working for the last semester on Raptor Reloaded add-ons. We started as a multidisciplinary project to focus mostly on writing, and have expanded from there in the last 3 months. So the students are going to be giving a presentation on what they are individually working on, and we'll wrap it up on where we're headed next. I'm going to start with Jane, and I'll work to share my screen here so you guys can see a wonderful set of slides. Let's see. Can you guys see it okay?
Yes, we can. That's perfect.
Perfect.
All right, so hi everyone. I'm Jane. This is me. And I was working on our first of 4 prototype designs with one of our team members, Felicia, who couldn't be here today. So this design works by taking the screws in the back of the tensioner and kind of clipping them back into a position so that you can lock the hand in different positions and hopefully use it for something like writing, as you see here, or really any position that you would need to lock the middle 3 fingers with. So as you can imagine, this is really a really small, kind of a little intricate design. There's only 3 pieces, but it ended up, once we printed it, it was really small and kind of hard to assemble, and we had some trouble there. So we ended up deciding to continue on and pursue other designs. And unfortunately, I don't have this one here today with me, but you can basically get the gist of it from the pictures, I think. So yeah, this is just probably the most simple design, but ended up being kind of complicated just due to the size. So I think one I was going to talk about my electric hand.
Tensioner. I'm going to pass it out to Jen.
Okay. So my add-on is a rolling tensioner. So it works around. Can I just show?
Sure.
Live. So since I have the model printed, I might as well show you guys physically. So there's a little
Can you hold it up? Hold
Yes.
it up. There you go.
Yes, there's some glue going on here. Just some minor adjustments as I try to improve the design. But the proof of concept is here. in that I've grouped using two different tension rolling wheels to group two different groups of fingers. So the first group is the thumb, index, and middle finger, and then the other group to the right of it is the pinky and the ring finger. So this works to allow the user to independently, so using just one hand, tension the fingers by just rolling the wheels against the surface. For instance, I'll demonstrate here that you can turn the wheels like this with your hand on the surface and you can adjust it. So this works to, let me just demonstrate here. If you have it so that, I'm just readjusting it right now. Okay, so like this, you have a sort of cup grip. If you tension these three fingers over here, the middle, index, and thumb a little bit more, it'll come in. And what this can do is it'll allow for users to have a sustained grip, and they can adjust these fingers to take on any sort of grip pattern they want in terms of these two groups. So as I demonstrated, two groups: the thumb, middle, and index, and the pinky and the ring finger. Of course, there's a lot of room for improvement. First being that this obviously looks very bulky on the back. But being as this is a spooling mechanism in the middle, I can reduce the diameter of the spools greatly. Just maybe even that small, because it's a continuous spooling operation, so we don't need to have such big spools. And also the locking mechanism for this device right now, it incorporates just a lateral bar that interferes with the rolling of the wheels. What we need here is we need a stop mechanism that the user can also use of just operate with just one hand and not having to need the left hand or the other hand to operate. So right now we'll have to physically twist the lateral bar to stop the interference, but in the future we'll look to other stopping mechanisms. And I'll pass it on to Wendell now to talk about his myoelectric hand.
All right. You can demonstrate it. Well, we'll go to the slide first. Right. Most anticipated. Most anticipated? Yeah, because I purposely put my slide to last. Ah, I see. I don't want to share. I wanted to present. Yes. There we go. Awesome. My name is Limbo. Yeah, we're a team here. So my design was myoelectric control of the hand. Essentially, what happens is that you can see I have electrodes attached to my forearm. So you're on the slide right now. Yeah. Sorry. Well, that's okay. You just describe it really quick, and then we'll move to the hand design. My 3D design involves a step motor control mount that will be mounted onto the gauntlet, and I'll be utilizing those slides in order to get a switchable add-on to the rapidly reloaded hand. In our previous design, some of you might have seen the video that when the threads are extracted from the motor, the hand would bend 90 degrees upwards and creating a difficulty for users. What I did was I designed a bridge to lock the gauntlet and the palm in place so that hand will stay in that position in order to enable, I say enable, to allow more functionalities. So back to the video. I suspect you're still sharing. Sorry guys. April Fools. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Awesome. Yeah, I think we're done sharing. Okay. Okay. On the body skill, I have 3 electrodes attached to my forearm. 2 acting as a ground reference, and 1 as a signal wire. In here, if I can turn this on. Now I can see it. This was the bridge I was talking about. This is attachable so that if I have the bridge out, the hand is still maneuverable. And if I lock this place in place, the hand and the palm and the gauntlet are locked in place. And if I were to squeeze my hand, please work. No, it's not working. Yeah. Damn it. I will help. There's also some wonderful videos
You can see it as well.
You swear it was working before.
It was working before. I swear to God.
We'll share it with you guys later.
All right. I think it's on.
Okay, now it's up.
Sorry, guys. Apparently the cable didn't like me in some way. So, so this is the hand, and if I squeeze my hand really quick, it's not working. Please work. Not really. We'll go back to that later.
We'll share it with you later.
Coming up next, back to Zach.
And hello everyone, Zach. Show the slide.
Yeah, do it live.
How to do that?
You can move closer. Yeah, just move over where Jen is.
Oh, did you know what you're saying?
Yeah, I want to show my slide.
You can demonstrate it first while we're live, and then you can show them. It'll be easier. No, that's okay. Are we sharing now, or?
No, we're not.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. My part is called forearm brace design, and it's very simple. And we relocate the tensioner on the forearm so we can use the motion of our wrist. Of the original Raptor reloaded hand, it just use the bending motion of the wrist to do a full grip like this. And after I relocate the tensioner, we can utilize the motion of the rotation of the wrist like this, because we have two group of fingers, and one group fingers is these three fingers, and the other group is these two fingers, and they are the end of the thread are on different side of the forearm. So when I rotate the hand, it will make some difference, and we can just make a triple gesture or different kind of gestures by dividing the thread controlling the fingers into different kind of groups, and that's it.
Okay, we'll go to the slide real quick. I know we're close on time, so we won't overtake time. But a quick slide of this looks like this.
Yeah. There is two part. One part is brace, and the other part is just some pins to locate the threads.
Perfect. So thank you guys for your time today. Wenbo will get back on the myoelectric side sooner or later. We can demonstrate it quietly in the background because we got to move forward.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Just going to mute you guys while we ask questions, because that will stop the feedback, and then we'll get you back. Does anybody who's on the call have any questions? I have a couple, but I'll wait to see. Does anybody have any questions? Because that's some pretty cool stuff we've seen. Okay, so my question is the hand with the battle gear on top of it, with the big spiky gear. So that has to be adjusted each. It doesn't happen automatically, right? Someone manually does that.
Yes, it has to slide along the surface to adjust it.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so it allows the user to operate it with just the hand it's on, so you don't have to use the other hand to adjust it. As with I've seen a cam mechanism that's being worked on right now, where the other hand has to adjust the cam settings in order to have different tension with each finger. This allows for the user to just use one hand for it.
That is really cool. Okay, if you guys can hang around in case there's any questions that come in, I'd appreciate it. If you need to leave, I understand that too. And maybe by the end of this, we'll get that myoelectric going.
I want to say that is a really good crop of creative engineering designs. Congratulations, guys.
And I did not mean to mute myself there. When we were moving from post-secondary education to K through 12 education last week on Saturday, I think it was, we had our follow-up town hall meeting, bringing in some teachers to talk about all of the stuff that they're doing in their classrooms and how they are taking e-NABLE projects to the next level. That's been posted to the community if anybody wants to watch it. I would like to, having seen this, I am very excited about the things happening in the post-secondary area, so I'm going to see what can be done to arrange a similar hangout to allow some showcasing of this work as well. But on K through 12, we have someone here who has done some work in a classroom. That's Drew. And I'm going to pass this over to him so he can talk about his experience with a classroom event. Drew?
Yep,
Hi.
sure. You can hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, appreciate it. So thanks for having me. I had a couple of activities that I worked with my one daughter's 5th grade class on, and it was very interesting because when I first approached the teacher, who I'd known for some years, my other children have had this teacher. The teacher was, I think, a little bit overwhelmed when I pointed him to the E3 STEAM resources, not knowing how to find maybe the right altitude or the right type of opportunity to introduce some of these things into the classroom. Also, he was not terribly familiar with the whole topic, etc. So it took a couple of weeks, and it was actually very timely that that we had seen the blast out from the hand challenge. And I think when I pointed out, like, you know, and made the offer to come in and help the kids really build some hands, that was probably the right kind of appetite level that we can actually, you know, I can come in for an hour, hour and a half, and get the kids to do some things. So I spent some time, you know, preparing for this. Basically, a couple weeks in advance, I think I made the early mistake of trying to have 60 children do 10 hands. And I think I might have slightly overestimated their ability to have patience and focus for that period of time. And I found that I was the only one running around helping them do everything. But they did a fantastic job. We ended up getting 8 fully functional hands out of it. 3 of them they want to keep in the classroom for kind of show and tell for other kids around the school. And then we're gonna finish up the other 5 and get them off to the group. What was kind of interesting is, you know, I think I saw it as I was preparing. I came up with, you know, just and it was a little bit crude, an instruction manual for the kids to follow that just did the assembly separate from the wiring. I couldn't take the tools and tweezers and things into a 5th grade class and had them do everything. So I think it was just the right amount of time to have them kind of assemble that I cleaned up a bit in advance. Kids got a lot out of it. They asked fantastic questions. Some along the lines of the fabulous things we just saw. How does it work if you know if you want to grab something, etc. So I think you know, they were kind of getting to the points of the range of motion challenges that would come about. So we're actually I should have started with this. Apologies. I'm located on Long Island, just 20 miles outside of New York City. And one of the questions towards the end is as I know we've been all focused on, is you know, are there local recipients that we can maybe help? So that's come up actually a couple times since I've actually done the event as well. But it was fantastic. Kids did a great job. I think the lesson learned there is maybe not so many, and also you know, I think, you know, I'm sure I'll do it again and help the next classes. But to kind of be prepared to take them away and finish up the wiring off site. Yeah, but it was fantastic. The other thing, just as an add-on, the timing worked out quite well. Just this past week, they had a STEM night. So they had an hour and a half where they had 20 different tables. They asked me to come in and host a table, which I did. Prominently had your brochures out there. It was fantastic. I think what was most interesting is some of the kids were running up with their parents, pointing at the hands, saying, "Those are the hands we did." It was great. You know, they really got a lot out of it, and I was able to describe further how important it is that we get these to be shipped out. So they're certainly looking forward to doing more. I think that was it. I mean, happy to answer questions if there are any.
That's fantastic. I think with a group that age, probably handling it that way, with doing the assembly and not necessarily doing it's very hard to do all of that at one time. Even working with some high school students, we found that you know, we couldn't get everything done in the amount of time that we'd allocated. We needed a little more time, and they had a lot of patience. So I understand that, but
yeah,
that's really exciting. With the matching, again, that I'll get you in touch with Melina. She can help you out, and we can see what's going on there. No, the only other question we have is Chuck rightly points out that he asks if we can move the film strip that appears at the bottom. I think I can remove it for purposes of the video, and I will check on that. But yes, he's right. When you want to show anything, so that's what we had the other students do. You need to hold it up sort of where your face is, because otherwise people who are watching can't see it so well. So thank you very much, Drew. And um, moving.
Can I ask? Sorry, one follow-on, maybe if I can ask the group. How? So I think that the hand challenge kind of helped kind of lower the bar, I think, and kind of brought the right kind of appetite level for this particular class. Do we have any thoughts to how better to maybe? I think at first, when I first introduced it, I think this particular teacher was a little standoffish, like I said, a little overwhelming. Have we thought about packaging some elements up into a bite-sized kind of approach for teachers?
Yes, we have, and I've got the first of a flyer about it, which if I can find while Skip is speaking, I'll share. Otherwise, I'll get it. But I'm sorry that Rich Lehrer can't be here today because he would be the best person to address this. But yes, that's absolutely in the works and just about ready, as a matter of fact. So
okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. As you probably know from looking in the community, we recently launched a design challenge looking for a sport-specific design of a terminal device. And a terminal device is the hand end of a prosthetic that screws into the socket with a standard bolt. Prosthetists work with they make the sockets, they do get the terminal devices from other places, and this is a great solution for a number of reasons. Skip Metz, who's done all sorts of wonderful work, this challenge actually was his brainstorm, and he's going to talk about an emulator device that has a lot of uses outside of the terminal challenge, but is particularly relevant for the challenge. And he's got some stuff to show us, so I'm going to pass this over to Skip. There you go, Skip.
Okay, thank you. We have had some earlier presentations of things that would be accessories for you to test out terminal devices, and we've upgraded that, and I'd like to share it with the whole community as well as the people that are working on the challenge. First of all, to show you a little about a terminal device. Justine mentioned that there's a standard screw that connects the terminal device to the rest of the prosthesis, typically the socket that goes on to the user's residual limb. And you can see that we are using a standard hex half-inch fine thread screw, and we hold that into the terminal device with a couple of pegs. You can use number 6 screws, or you can use pegs made from 3mm filament, or anything else you can think of that'll hold that in place. And what we typically do is put on a washer and a rubber ring, and what that does for you is that allows the terminal device to have some friction when you rotate it on the prosthesis. So here's one all rigged up into the device I'm going to show you today. I'm calling this an emulator. The idea is to emulate the prosthesis so that an able-bodied person can see what it's like to use this particular terminal device. And so the terminal device, as I mentioned, connects to the prosthesis or the emulator with that half-inch 20 screw, and it can rotate and stay where you put it by the fact that there's that frictional ring between the device and the prosthesis. And basically, the emulator is a piece of half-inch, 1 1/4 inch plastic pipe that you can get from any hardware store, a printed end cap, and 3 thermoformed printed flat pieces that form cuffs that can attach to your arm. And these cuffs are attached to the pipe with just sheet metal screws. And it'll be kind of obvious how to do that, I hope, but we'll make some instructions. And it just slips on the able-bodied person's arm. Now, one critical thing is to get the hinge right on the hinge of the elbow. There's a little bump on your elbow that you may be able to feel with your other hand. This is called the epicondyle, and it's sort of a good locator for where the hinge point is. So you get that hinge on your epicondyle, and you can just start strapping it on with Velcro straps. And this allows the terminal device to work on a Bowden cable in much the same way that, see if I can hold it this way, that a split hook works on a traditional prosthesis. There's a Bowden cable that normally would be connected to a shoulder harness. So when the user moves his shoulder, it pulls the cable and it opens a normally closed split hook. It's held in place with a rubber band. Well, the normally closed idea, rubber band holding it closed, is something we've been delighted to work out with terminal devices like the thing we're calling a gripper thumb. And the one that I'm showing you now is a more cosmetic, normal hand-looking version of the gripper thumb. And you can see how that works when you, let's see, turn around. When you extend your arm, it pulls the Bowden cable, which is connected to the hinge between the triceps cuff and the cuff below the elbow, and runs to the thumb of this particular terminal device. So when I extend my arm, it pulls the thumb open. When I relax my arm or flex it, it allows the rubber band to pull the thumb closed. And as I said, it can rotate. And so that's a very useful feature. And the nice thing about having this particular emulator, rather than what we had used earlier on, is just holding the terminal device in your hand, hooking up a Bowden cable to your upper arm. The problem with this idea is it allows you to have more range of motion of the terminal device than you will have when the terminal device is rigidly attached to your residual arm. And the benefit of using this for your investigation, if I can find a spoon, if you want to, for instance, use this hand-like terminal device for eating with a spoon, you'll find something that might not have been obvious to you. You can rotate the hand so that the spoon is level and it'll pick up your food, but when you move it over to your mouth, it tips over. And so you end up holding your arm in a very awkward position trying to keep your spoon level when you get it up to your face. And you may not notice that your terminal device is going to be dependent on, oh, by the way, you can learn to practice with the terminal device like the recipient has to do. You'll forget that when you extend your arm, you're going to be dropping things until you get used to the idea. And so the emulator is going to be useful for a training tool, we believe, for clinical people when they are presenting a prosthesis or a new kind of terminal device to a patient or a recipient. So the clinician can use this as a demonstrator. The designer can use it to work the bugs out of the design and discover things like, is the orientation going to be where it needs to be to do the job that you want it to do for whatever the task is. So basically, I know we've got a busy agenda today, and I'll just show you basically a couple of things about how it's connected. There's a Bowden a Bowden cable with a little ball on the end. We print this ball, and we use a nylon filament, like a weed whacker filament, or some nylon filament, 1.75 millimeter nylon filament that you might be using on your printer. That makes a great Bowden cable, and you just put the little ball on the end of it and melt the tip of the nylon with a soldering iron. And by the way, when you put things together with rivets made from plastic rods like filament, you can use a soldering iron to flatten out a rivet head on those. But the Bowden cable just hooks right into the thumb, in this case, to the moving part of the terminal device, and the other end of it is attached to the emulator so that when you extend your arm, it pulls on the cable. And this is adjustable. It's kind of threaded like sewing back and forth through some holes that are printed into that hinge part. So you can adjust it to fit the particular terminal device that you're testing. And you can test one terminal device after another and get a comparison for how they work just by unscrewing one and screwing the other in its place, hooking up the Bowden cable, and whoops, I find that I got to readjust my Bowden cable because the distance from the elbow to the attachment point here is not right. So that's easy to do with this design. And basically to make these cuffs, we print them flat, use PLA, dip it in hot water, and just after 15 seconds you can pull it out. If you're careful, you can form them, just let them sit on the table and form them into this kind of taco shell shape. And that's easy enough to do without any special rigs and so forth. So this is a lot easier to fabricate, and we hope it'll be easy to use. You can use a sticky back foam like moleskin or the foam like we're using on the wrist-powered hands to make it more comfortable. But if just for your own lab testing you want to forego that, it'll give you an appreciation for how it feels to have a prosthesis that doesn't fit properly. The padding is beneficial in terms of your comfort. And using this, you can walk around and see what it's like to have a prosthesis all day. Your arm gets tired pretty quick, and you'll be able to experience what the user experiences. So that's really great for a designer. And that's it for now. We'll publish this on Thingiverse and post about it and post links on the Google Plus and on the web page for the challenge. So that's it for now, Justine. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I would like to point out that, of course, what you're showing here is an active device, but if you're doing something for a particular sport, it can be a passive device, in which case it would just, the terminal device would just screw onto the emulator. You don't have to worry as much about the Bowden cable. Does anybody help? Skip your talking, but you're muted. You're muted, so we can't hear you.
Yeah, for instance, Justine, here's a hand that is primarily cosmetic. It's supposed to look more like a hand, but there's a little space between the thumb and the fingers that can be used to grab a shopping bag or something like that. Or, you know, a thing that doesn't have moving parts can also be very functional. So that's an example. Good point, thank you.
Right, and for the challenge for something specific to a sport, it's certainly likely that for certain sports it would just be the shape of the item. It doesn't even have to necessarily look like a hand. Definitely people should think outside the box. This does not have to look like a hand. But the whole idea with this of the modularity is a very important concept. Even though we're focusing here on something on sports, it's got a big, this has a big impact in a lot of ways. On vocational aspects as well. So I don't see any questions that have come in through the Q&A, but do anybody here on the call have any questions for Skip? Okay. Last then, but certainly not least, John Scholl has been traveling everywhere, telling the great story of the work that's done by the e-NABLE Community Foundation and the e-NABLE community. And we're definitely with him playing a game of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. So John, do you want to just give a brief update on where you've been and where you're going? And then we'll wrap up for today. But you're muted. Oh, there you go.
There we go. And I will try to be brief and picturesque just so you get a flavor for this. I was at the Cairo Maker Faire. It was mobbed. It was really interesting. I met some wonderful people, one of them from the planet Furthergroon, I suppose, another from a Jordanian refugee camp who we introduced to a partner about a year and a half ago. He's creating 2 maker spaces, and I believe there will soon be a partner working on e-NABLE Hands to help Syrian refugees. I visited the Cairo Academy of Science, which is a big place. This corridor is 1 kilometer long, and it's a big square building. I was at the Library of Alexandria. I have been to Haifa. I visited the Fab Lab in Haifa, and also met Israel's first recipient of a hand, who gave a terrific speech, which I'll share with the community later. We have a champion there named Yoav Medan. You can see that they're featuring e-NABLE in a very serious way, and saw actually another emulator, as well as I met the people who do the real sense. They created a 3D model of me as a Klingon, and they promised to send it, but I don't have it yet. And the Haifa Museum had all sorts of interesting things, including some mathematical art, which I just happened to be here, a cube which really isn't one. They've got some very interesting laboratories at Haifa working on relevant things. I visited a call it an integrated fab lab called Muna in an Arab village, where they've got a bunch of these things, and they've already been providing consultations on e-NABLE Hands in the Arab world. And I met a number of people who were involved in FIRST robotics in Israel, and they also think there's a great deal of opportunity for having e-NABLE project to be part of the off-season activities for all of those FIRST robotics people. This device is a motor activated with an interesting linear drive, pressure actuated e-NABLE hand done by these people, including Miriam from Intel. And I will close just by showing you that I happened to find this fun little poster, which talks about what I would like to do, and their example of what they would like to do in 3D printing is give a hand to a child, and they point out that what they really do ends up being making lots of tangles, but it has been a whirlwind tour, and it even included cappuccino. I'll try to produce a more coherent report, but my next stops are Dubai, and then Rome for the European Prosthetic and Orthotic Society, and I just want to tell you, every place I go, and I suppose these aren't random samples of where I go, but people are so impressed with what all of you are doing. I walk in and I get all the credit for the community, but in fact, they understand that I'm really there just sort of talking about what, for example, the crowd of people on this hangout are doing and spreading all over the world. It's really just a pleasure to be an emissary and carry the word around. So thank you for all you're doing and how well you're doing it, and producing all of these little events, pictures, and announcements which are inspiring people all the way over here as well. The end.
Thank you very much. Yes, quite a lot of FIRST Robotics team find a great partnership with the work that e-NABLE has done. I know we have Bob Payne up in New York who's done some work. Daniel Dugan as well it happens to do some work with FIRST Robotics if I'm not mistaken, and other groups of those students have helped out at different events and with different things, especially in their off season when they're not competing. So before we go, just because Drew had asked about it, I have located the first of those education handouts. I'll just share that. It's basically a handout to simplify how to get involved with the E3 STEAM program, what the benefits are, just to try and get people in. And then there is more information both on the website and in the repository that Rich has been working so hard on. and which is really great and has great information there for people who are looking to get their classes involved. And we are still working on building that out.
It's looking great, Justine. It's not just Rich who's working on the website and the visuals. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I don't believe, let me just check if we have any additional questions. Yes, Yohav points out that John's lecture in Haifa is posted. I've actually watched it, so I know that it's there. Thank you very much. I look forward to sharing that. I will pass that on to Chuck, who is taking our notes this week, so it will be included in our notes. And I enjoyed the lecture quite a bit, so I encourage people to go and listen to it. John, you did a great job. You really did. You did. If that's it, does anybody, and nobody has anything else, we can wrap it up for this week. It's been really good to have everybody here. For me in particular, the education world and what's done with e-NABLE in the education world is particularly important to me. So I'm always happy when we have people K through 12 and post-secondary. Please again, check out the challenge and enter that. Making those terminal devices has will potentially help quite a lot of people. And as a benefit, we are offering some cash prizes on that. So there's a benefit. There's a nice little benefit, a little carrot there to get involved. But designing those devices actually will help us be able to help more people. So it's important. Does anybody have anything else before we go? It appears not. Okay, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. And until next week, happy printing. Bye-bye.